Well, hey guys, Bart from Bicycle Rider YouTube, and I am trying to help people decide what bike to get. I'm doing a bike buying guide, and of course I've got to go through several different style bikes to make that work for people who want different purposes and different bikes, different budgets. But one bike I truly believe in is the modern gravel bike, and I get a lot of questions about what the gravel bike is, why a gravel bike, what's the price of a gravel bike, what's the purpose of a gravel bike. And I'm in northern Sicily, Italy right now, and I'm finding that this is quite a bicycle community, but maybe hasn't caught up to the US market when it comes to gravel bikes, because as I'm riding this bike around, actually this one's not mine, this is my riding partner's. Mine's a little bit different than this. Mine's a little bit higher end. So for the purpose of this video, I brought out this bike, and this is basically a mid-level gravel bike. And you know, as I'm riding these types of bikes around, the local riders are asking me a lot of questions, especially the older guys. I'm old myself. I'm 55, well now 56 years old, and I'm finding that a lot of the riders that I'm meeting out here are, you know, in that age group or older, and a lot of them are riding standard mountain bikes. So they're kitted out. That means a bicycle kit, riding a mountain bike on a beach boardwalk and on some of these paved roads. And I see the positioning of a lot of these riders is very far forward. So that puts a lot of pressure on the shoulders and the back when you're riding a mountain bike on the road for fitness full time. And there's people that do it. I mean, a lot of these guys have been doing it for years, and they've invested quite a bit of money. So a lot of the bikes that I'm seeing are high-end bikes. Cannondale Scalpels, Trek Super Calibers, Specialized Epic Evos. I mean, there's some really nice bikes. So when I say that the Sicilian culture maybe is behind the American culture in gravel bikes, it's not that they don't have great bikes. I mean, even a lot of the roadies that I've met around here are really, they're on pro level tour bikes. Specialized S-Work Tarmacs, you know, the Madone Gen 8 Project 1s, a lot of Bianchis, a lot of bikes that I don't see in America. But let me get back to my buying guide. So why a gravel bike? Well, like the story started, as I'm getting questions about a fat tire drop bar bike. It's a bit of an oddball bike. It's not so much in the US market. It's becoming mainstream. As I owned Biloxi Bicycle Works, I don't own that anymore, but I sold a lot of gravel bikes, and a lot of people are so happy with that choice because it is a bike that can do multiple things well. So as I'm talking about maybe some of the older riders here, kitted out on a mountain bike riding for fitness, the position is very far forward. And to get that position up, you have to really change a lot about the bike that makes it not so much a great mountain bike. A lot of people on a bike like that want to raise the handlebars because they find that their riding posture is very far forward, and they end up wanting to go with a higher stem. And a lot of times with a modern stem, it has to do with the length of your top tube that's sticking out at the top of your fork. So you can get an adjustable stem, you can get other things, but it's kind of degrades that level of mountain bike that I'm seeing people buy. You might as well buy a flat bar hybrid bike. But I am in Italy, and appearances mean a lot. So these guys want to be seen on hot bikes, but when it comes down to it, it's your comfort. As a bike fitter and someone that's thinking outside the box, I'm thinking what's the actually best bike for you, not what's the best bike that you look good on. So, man, I'm seeing a guy riding a motocross bike here, a motorcycle. Italy is so cool. So Sicily is so cool, such a cool culture. And as I'm riding around, to me, it's an amazing spot to ride. Now, a lot of the roads, there's a lot of paved roads here. I don't see as many gravel roads. And people are like, well, why do you need a gravel bike if you're not on gravel roads? Oh, a lot of these roads are pretty beat up. Even for the paved roads are beat up. A gravel bike just gives you much more tire, much more comfort on those roads. It also gives you stability and traction. As I am not used to going down such steep grades, and I am a Cat 1 mountain bike racer, so I'm used to some mountain biking, but literally these roads are so steep, I feel much better having bigger tires. When I hit potholes and stuff, I'm not cringing. And I do see some of the fellow riders, you know, when they're hit a pothole, these roads are pretty skinny. There's not a whole lot of traffic, but when there is, you know, the car wins. So we're the ones that hit the potholes, and it's so nice to have more tire to do that. And the gravel bike does give you more tire. It's efficient. So gearing wise, you know, on a mountain bike, a lot of the modern mountain bikes are now one by, so that means you have a small chain ring in the front and a lot of chain rings in the back, and that big chain ring's a big pancake. You know, it can be like a 56. On the roads here, you're never really using those gears, so you're spinning a smaller gear, a smaller sprocket, a 10 or 11, and you're spinning that thing over and over and over again. You're not using the gear range. What that does is wear out those components. These modern 11 and 12 speed cassettes are expensive. You know, they're $400 or $500 for some of these cassettes. And you're pretty much not using most of your gear range. So that's another disadvantage to riding a mountain bike, is the cost of maintenance. You're stretching out your chain because you're putting so much force into it. A lot of people are pedaling with a very low cadence, high force. That wears out your drivetrains, and these modern drivetrains have a 12-speed chain. I'm not saying they're not good chains, but we demand lightweight, so these chains are skinny, they're light, and they wear out, especially if you're just riding one or two gears a lot of the times. So that's another disadvantage. I've had a lot of mountain bike riders ask me for a bigger chain ring in the front. Most of the time you can adapt a bigger chain ring, but you can only still go so big. On a gravel bike, you can get a much bigger chain ring, a much wider gear range. So you can handle multi situations better. If you're on the gravel and you need lower gears, the gravel bike has got that. If you're on the road like me, I'm riding my gravel bike on the road, and I need speed out of that gravel bike, I've got gears for that as well. One of the things I like when I say modern gravel bike, a lot of them are coming one by gear range now. And when you're not used to a multi-geared bike, it's nice when you don't have to worry about how to use a front derailleur, how to use a back derailleur in conjunction with that front derailleur, the maintenance of a front derailleur. Now, we've been running front derailleurs and multi-chains for a long time, but things are changing. This is 2025, going into 2026 pretty soon, and you're gonna see a lot more one-bys. It has simplified the bike, and as someone that has owned a bike shop and worked with a lot of people on how to ride a bike and had to teach people gearing, a lot of people don't understand what the front derailleur does, what the back derailleur does, when to switch to the derailleur, and there's no, like people say, when do I switch that derailleur? Well, it has to do with the torque, the force, the incline, the speed, the wind direction. There's a lot to it, and I can help you with that too, and I'm going to go into videos to help people with that. But if you're looking for that one bike to buy that can do multiple things, the gravel bike really is a good choice. As I'm in Europe right now with one bike, I'm doing gravel and road with that, with my gravel bike, and you can do that with this too. So when I say price point is important when looking for a bike. This is a $2,000 gravel bike, brand new, modern geometry. And people say, well, wow, $2,000. When you go start shopping for bikes, I'm not saying you have to spend $2,000, but that's mid-range when things start going good. And I'm not saying you have to buy a Trek Checkpoint. It's the bike that I thought was the best bang for the buck for my friend's situation. And it has been. Now, with a gravel bike, when I say ride multi-surface situations, that doesn't mean you can ride everything. I love to hashtag ride everything, but there are certain situations that, you know, a mountain bike is going to be better than the gravel bike. My riding partner actually had that happen where she was riding with a group of mountain bikers on her gravel bike and got in a bit over her head, fell down and got hurt. Ended up having to get on someone else's mountain bike, and she came back and said, well, that mountain bike rode much better in that situation than the gravel bike. But this was an extreme downhill, something that a beginner level gravel rider shouldn't have been on. So be careful where you take these things. I was in a situation just 2 days ago, and I am an expert rider, a veteran rider. I'm on my, had Strava auto pick me a route, and I didn't pick the surface type, but I picked any surface. This route had me on a serious decline on a gravel road. If I wasn't an expert, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it. So the gravel bike does do multiple things well, and you can get into the gravel bike at a really decent price point that gives you a lot of bang for your buck. So, you know, as we're traveling with the bikes through Europe, there's times when we're climbing. There's times when we're descending. There's times when we're on a beach community. There's times when we want to leave that car parked and go take this to the grocery store. There's times when we want to tool around, and then there's times when we want to get our speed on, and the gravel bike does that so well. My riding partner was not used to having a drop bar, so as she is going down some of these steeper hills, the drop bar on this bike is flared, it's wide, and it gives you leverage, but she feels like she's going to fall over the front of the bike, and she actually did fall over the front of the bike. But then once again, that was an extreme case. It's good to get with a cycling coach or a veteran rider on how to use the front brake in proportion to the rear brake, and when you're doing that on dirt surface or a paved surface. So you get a lot more braking force out of the front, but you get, you know, you run that risk of you know, grabbing too much front brake and tipping over as well. So there's a lot when you're making a change from a mountain bike, or if you haven't ridden a bike for years and you're looking for one bike that you can do multiple things. So the best is to get with some veteran riders or a cycling coach. I'd be glad to help you with that myself, and explain how to use the gravel bike. This bike has something special up here on the stem. As you see, there's no suspension on this bike, but that also keeps the maintenance down and keeps it lightweight, not having suspension. So a lot of the suspension is built into the tubeless tire. That's a whole nother thing I want to talk about, is tubeless tires and the advantages of that. But this has what's called a suspension stem. So this is a high quality suspension stem that actually mitigates those vibrations coming up from the road. With a carbon fiber fork, that's going to do that naturally, rather than a steel fork or an aluminum fork. But having a little bit of dampening does help out as well. So if you're coming from a road bike and you get on a gravel bike and you feel these wide handlebars, just know that's for leverage. So that does help your control, because there's a chance you're going to take this thing out on the gravel roads. So on the other hand, when I'm riding with these fast roadies and I'm on a 50 millimeter tire that's aired down and a little bit more weight, you know, I'm losing some of those marginal gains that some of these guys here in Sicily have, because they have some really hot bikes. But geometry is a little bit different. You know, the front ends are a little bit higher, bottom brackets are a little bit higher, so they are more comfortable for someone that's not used to a real aggressive position, more of an endurance geometry bike. So even though it has the curved bar on it, people look at that and think it's just a road bike with fat tires. Believe me, it's not. A lot of them are built sturdier as well. So there's just a lot of advantages to having a gravel bike, and as someone who sold a lot of gravel bikes to people, I get people that are so happy with them. And then also I get people that say now they wanted a lighter bike with more speed, you know. So anyway, as the sun is setting here in northern Sicily, Italy, I'm going to do some more videos on that. I'm looking over at the camera and it's just not really picking up the bike. It's like it's a big shadow, but just roll with it. The content's important, not so much the picture. What I'm seeing here with the naked eye is a beautiful sunset. What you guys are seeing with the camera is probably a shadow, but just listen to the voice. I'll try to pick a better time to do the next video. I'm going to do a whole lot more on gravel bikes and the utilitarian aspect, how you can put racks on them, how you can run them naked, how you can make them lighter, how you can make them more useful. I'm going to do a whole lot more on the gravel bike because I do think that that is a niche of bike that needs to be explained a little bit more. And I'm loving that I get so many questions here in Sicily about the gravel bike. So as I was in Sardinia, one island north of here, the gravel bike was the king for sure. But sometimes there's no sense riding around on the beach boardwalk on a race level mountain bike, because you're not using half the potential of that bike, and it does limit you. Like if I put the hammer down, those guys can't keep up with me. Now I'm not saying everybody can, you know, a very talented rider and someone's in shape, well, that's a different story. I'm talking about the average Joe, about the mortal riders, and people riding for fitness. So it does look cool. I used to ride a mountain bike everywhere until I couldn't afford to do that anymore because I just kept wearing out parts. And also, you know, I wanted a little bit more speed. So as I do more on the series, like I said, I'm going to try to find some better locations for the video content. But listen to the words. Think about gravel bikes. If you have questions about gravel bikes, please put them in the comments. I'll do my best to reply. I've had a hard time without stable Wi-Fi as I've been traveling. But I'm going to try to stay in the same spot for a few weeks, and I'm going to work on the Wi-Fi situation, so I'll be able to answer your questions a little bit better. Gearing-wise, component-wise, weight-wise, durability-wise, and overall value for someone that wants to ride multiple situations or wants to ride a multi-surface loop like I did today. I can stay off the main roads by having a gravel bike and still be comfortable. If I do get on a main road, I can be efficient and haul butt. If I do get on a slow gravel road, I can, you know, enjoy it where the guys on the road bikes are walking. Just so many advantages to a gravel bike. But there's a lot of different bikes in the world, and I want to touch base on a lot of style bikes to fit people's purposes so they don't think they just need to buy a mountain bike, or they just need a road bike and they're not sure what even a new road bike is. So, Bart with Bicycle Ride YouTube. If you like my content, please like and subscribe and ask me some questions about a gravel bike. It's one of my favorite subjects. Appreciate your guys' support.